everybody, welcome to my channel. My name's Mel. Thank you so much for joining me today for an Australian book recommendations video. So my friend Ellie from Earl Grey Books and I have decided that we would like to do some videos where we talk about some of our favourite Australian books. So today we are going to be bringing to you a video where we talk about some independent Australian books. Ellie will come on at the end, so you'll see me talking and then you'll see Ellie talking and then I'll do a see you later. As most of you probably know, I am co-hosting the Indie Accords readathon with my amazing friends Lana from Lowe and Lullabies, Leslie from The Nerdy Narrative, Chelsea from Chelsea Zayo, and Lena from Sufficiently Advanced Lena, and that will be going throughout July. So the aim of this readathon is to really focus on indie books and indie publishers and to give them a bit of a boost. I am the team leader for the literary, contemporary and historical fiction team. However, I don't read just those genres. I read quite a lot of fantasy, I read a little bit of romance, and I do occasionally read thrillers and mysteries. Haven't delved into horror yet, but you know, one day maybe. So Ellie and I thought that it might be fun to do a series of these videos. I'm not sure how frequently, it'll probably be just every so often when we feel like it, but we thought that it would be good to start with indie recs for you guys today, given that we have the Indie Accords coming up soon. Like I said, I am one of the hosts. I'm the team leader for that team. Ellie is taking part in the readathon, so Ellie will be, I think she's joining the romance team. So I'm going to start by showing you two middle grade or even younger, they're sort of the in-between middle grade and kids picture books, which would be commonly known as chapter books, and they are Black Cockatoo and Yinti Desert Child. So Black Cockatoo is written by Carl Merrison and Hakia Hustler, and Yinti Desert Child was written by Pat Lowe and Jimmy Pike. These books were both published by Magabala Books. Magabala Books is one of the leading Australian Indigenous publishing houses. They publish Australian Indigenous authors, and yeah, I just think that they're an amazing publishing house and I think they're doing really, really important work. I think Australian Aboriginal authors and books are really necessary and important to promote, so I definitely just wanted to show you some books from Magabala Books. So I'll just read the blurbs for both of them to you so you can get an idea of what they're about. So Black Cockatoo. When Mia rescues a Dirran black cockatoo, she faces her biggest challenge when she chooses to care for the bird, knowing it is her totem animal. Mia feels powerless to change the things she sees around her until she explores the fragile connections of family and culture and discovers her own inner strength. So that is that one. And then Yinti Desert Child. Yinti Desert Child will open your eyes to a completely different culture and way of experiencing the world. Yinti is a traditional Walmajari boy growing up in the Great Sandy Desert of Western Australia, one of the most marginal environments on Earth. Yinti has no contact with white people until the last chapter of the book when he meets his first white man, first horse, and first bullock. This is actually the first book in a series, and it's talking about Yinti growing up in that environment and what it means for him to come across white people for the first time. So yeah, I think that would be a really great addition to any child's bookcase. Then we have a mystery book. This is The Nowhere Child by Christian White. So this is, like I said, a mystery, not quite thriller, but kind of suspense novel. And it is about a young woman who is approached by an investigator who is looking into the disappearance of a little girl, like 20 odd years ago. He thinks that she might be the little girl. So it's about her trying to figure out if that's the case and what happened to her and how she could have had that happen without her knowing it. So yeah, I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was a great story. It is, yeah, like I said, an Australian author, as they all are. A lot of the action takes place in Australia but also in the States. So the woman who is approached who might be this child grew up in Australia, but her family that potentially she was taken from is American. So kind of swaps between the two. And this book is published by Affirm Press, who is another Australian independent publisher. Next up, I have a novel by Chris Sadler, and this is The Long Trip. So this is a book that is a bit old now. It's set in the 1970s, I believe, and it is about a man and his sort of travel around parts of the world and figuring out himself and his life, and yeah, a bit of a kind of coming of age story. Yeah, so it's been quite a while since I read this book, but I did really enjoy it when I did read it. And this was published by a publishing company called Albatross Books. I don't actually know whether they exist anymore, but yeah, it's an independent publisher, Australian publisher, so that works on all levels. Next up is a book that I have not read yet, but I think will be fantastic, and that is The Gaps by Leanne Hole. So this is a young adult sort of thriller mystery. Yeah, like I said, I haven't read it yet. I don't really know a huge amount about it. It was chosen for me by Ellie from Earl Grey Books, so the person who you're about to see on this video. Anyway, so it says, when 16-year-old Yin Mitchell is abducted, the news reverberates through the whole Year 10 class at Balmoral Ladies College. As the hours tick by, the girls know the chance of Yin being found is becoming smaller and smaller. Everyone is affected by Yin's disappearance. Even scholarship student Chloe, who usually stays out of Balmoral dramas, is drawn into the maelstrom. And when she begins to form an uneasy alliance with Natalia, the queen of Year 10, things get even more complicated. A tribute to friendship in all its guises, The Gaps is a moving examination of vulnerability and strength, safety and danger, and the particular uncertainties young women face in the world. So I think that sounds really, really cool, because it's kind of a contemporary, but also there is an element of thriller mystery. I think it would actually work for either team contemporary historical and literary fiction, but I also think that it would work quite well for Leslie's team, which is horror, mystery and thriller. So yeah, so this one was published by the Text Publishing Company, which is another Australian publishing house. Next up, we have a middle grade fantasy, which is Ottilie Coulter and the Narroway Hunt by Rhiannon Williams. I don't know a huge amount about this one either. I haven't read this one yet. This is another book that was chosen for me by Ellie. Rhiannon is a Brisbane-based author, and it was published by Hardy Grant Egmont. I will again read the blurb to you. A secret hunt, a secret hero. When Ottilie's brother Gully goes missing, her search for him leads her to the Narroway, a place so hidden it's not marked on any map. There she makes a dangerous discovery. A mysterious organisation is kidnapping boys and training them to hunt. Ottilie must disguise herself as a boy if she wants to rescue Gully from the Narroway hunt. But why is the hunt such a secret, and just what will the boys be hunting? Sounds pretty amazing. I'm really excited to read this. Next up, I have two contemporary books by the same author. So I have Too Much Lip and Mullumbimby by Melissa Lukashenko. So this one follows a woman called Kerry Salter, Indigenous woman, and it's about her returning home and reviving relationships with her family, figuring herself out and her place in the world. And yeah, I just thought it was really great. I love Melissa Lukashenko's writing, and yeah, definitely really interesting if you enjoy good contemporary literature that is an older literature as well. So it's not young adult, it is about a woman. I think she's in her late 20s, early 30s, but it's nice to read a book that's not about an 18-year-old. Yeah, so I definitely would recommend this one. So Melissa Lukashenko is an Indigenous Australian author, and the characters in both the books I've read from hers are Indigenous, so I think that's really, important to get stories from Indigenous perspectives. And it was published by the University of Queensland Press, so there's that one. I think Mullumbimby was published by the same press, same publishing house. Next up, we have a trilogy. So the first of the books is The Interrogation of a Charlotte Wolf. Then we have The Disappearance of Ember Crow and The Foretelling of Georgie Spider. These books were written by Amberlynn Quay Molina and published by Walker Books. So they take place in a sort of alternate world that is reminiscent of Australia, and it is a post-apocalyptic society, and yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I've only read this one, I haven't read the other two, but I intend to, and yeah, I definitely would highly recommend. It has elements of fantasy and, like I said, dystopian, so it would definitely work for the dystopian part of that readathon. And it is also fantasy, so you can read it for team fantasy, so highly recommend these books. Next up, I have The Oyster Girl by Ren Fraser Cameron. I don't know much about this one either, so I'll read the blurb to you for this one as well. She was the oyster girl, clamped onto life, encased in a brittle, sharp shell, a shadow in the mud, her story a secret. This is a version of Tasmania that you have never read, a novel of the sea and sailing that tells the story of an island through the eyes of an unforgettable woman, Pearl McQueen, the Oyster Girl. Yeah, so I think that sounds really, really interesting. I love the cover. I just think it's beautiful and will fit the by the sea and also the Australian, New Zealand. All these will fit for Australian, New Zealand prompts. And yeah, I just think it sounds really fantastic. It's a book that I haven't read, as you can tell. I'm excited to get to it. And it was published by 40 South. So there you go. And the final book that I want to talk to you guys about today is the team book for my team, which again is the literary, historical and contemporary fiction team, and that is The Rain Heron by Ravi Arnott. So again, I'll read the back to you. Ren lives alone on the remote frontier of a country devastated by a coup. High in the forested slopes, she survives by hunting and trading and forgetting. But when a young soldier comes to the mountains in search of a local myth, Ren is inexorably drawn into her impossible mission. As their lives entwine and unravel and erupt, as myths merge with reality, both Ren and the soldier are forced to confront what they regret, what they love, and what they fear. Yeah, so I think that sounds amazing. I'm excited to read this one as well. And this one was published by Text Publishing as well. So now I'm going to hand over to Ellie, who's going to talk you through a bunch of other books that you might be interested in reading as indie recommendations from Australian authors and publishers, and then I'll be back to say goodbye.
I'm Ellie from Earl Grey Books, and today I'm going to give you a couple of my own recommendations for some indie books that you can read from Australian authors. So, starting up, I want to recommend No Limits by Ali Marnie. So this is technically a spin-off to the Every series, which is published by Allen and Unwin. But I would highly recommend reading those and then reading this. That's one of my favourite series of all time. It is a modern day Sherlock retelling, but set in Melbourne. And it's just incredible. I would recommend anything that Ali Marnie has done. She has also released a couple of other books, both traditionally and independently, so highly recommend checking her out. If you're into crime and that sort of thing, especially by Australian authors, this is a little not safe for work, so if you are someone who doesn't like that kind of stuff, maybe beware of this one. Sticking with that kind of theme, I want to also recommend Bronwyn Parry, who is a romance author. She writes like suspenseful romance and also historical romance. I actually met her at a Jane Austen festival, and she was super lovely. And there you go. There's another independently published Aussie author. I believe she is based in New South Wales or Queensland, one of them. And yeah, if you're into that thing, there you go. There's another one. And finally, I want to mention one from a small publisher called Wakefield Press. And this is Sunburnt Vales by Sarah Hagedusty. This is a YA, and it is about this young Muslim girl named Tara, and she wants to fall in love. It's her first day at uni, and there's a bomb scare, and then she kind of gets thrown in with this guy whose name I can't remember, Alex, and it goes from there. Really fun book, really nice and short if you're looking for something quick. for indie accords or just to catch up with your reading goals in general. So yeah, there you are. There's another one. So I'm just going to keep it with the 3 today because I'm not sure what Mel's recommended. But I hope you're all having a lovely day. Thank you so much, Mel, for having me. And I will see you all next time. Bye. We had to have a Percy join us at some point.
Thank you so much, Ellie, for helping me out in this video and for some amazing recommendations. Like I said earlier, Ellie and I will be doing these videos periodically where we talk you through a bunch of different Australian recommendations fitting different themes, so keep an eye out for that on our channels. Also keep an eye out for Ellie and I doing live streams on both of our channels, so we do that fortnightly on my channel at 8 p.m. on Sunday Australian Eastern Standard Time, and then fortnightly on Ellie's channel at 9:30 a.m. Saturday Australian Eastern Standard Time. So you can come along and hang out with us and read some books. It would be amazing if you would like to do that. So yeah, keep your eyes open for those as well. So comment below if you've read any of these books, if you like the sound of any of these books, if you had heard of any of these books, if you have any Australian indie recommendations yourself. I would love to know all of those things. If you would like to leave me a comment but you don't know what, then leave me an Australian flag or a little symbol of Australia. That would be fantastic. All of my social media details are in the description below, so if you'd like to go and follow me on any of those platforms, please feel free. Thank you so much for watching. I really do hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel and give me a thumbs up. So yeah, like I said, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video and I will see you next time.